Recovery doesn't start tomorrow.
Calling all angels.
Recovery starts right now. And here to help is Rated R for Recovery.
Calling all you angels. Calling all angels.
Welcome to another edition of Rated R for Recovery, ratedrforrecovery.com, the website. We are on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, go into the search, type in Rated R, the number 4, Recovery, and we come right up. And we have this behind me here is our logo, so that makes it easier to find us. And when you do that, we'd like you to like and subscribe, if you would. So right now, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's John. I'm an addict.
Hey, John.
Well, welcome to the show, and my co-host over here.
Oh, my name is Joy. I'm an alcoholic. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Joy. Joy, would you tell our audience here by the way, we broadcast live from the KRZ studios in South Fort Myers, Florida, every Tuesday night at 6 p.m., and hear us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all those other kind of things that you young people use. You can hear us. Now, Joy is going to describe to us here and to you at home what Rated R for Recovery is. Joy?
This is our mission statement. Rated R for Recovery is a recovery-based, faith-driven program bringing hope, healing, and restoration to individuals and families impacted by addiction. We use interviews, information sharing, and entertainment, and we strive to be a catalyst for all who wish to recover.
Very good. So we're going to start off by thanking the Salvation Army in Fort Myers, Florida. Watch the show every week and make it part of their curriculum for their clients. We appreciate that. Say hi to my cousin Bonnie in Pennsylvania and Jim L. in Toronto, Canada, who just messaged me and said he's watching the show. So hi to you guys there. You know, if you want to comment on the show as it's going on, or anytime, you can text 239-980-8080, and we can read your questions or comments on the air. Joy, you have something that we have coming up, don't you? An announcement here of some sort?
I have a couple things. Kimmy's Recovery Zone presents Coffee and Canteen. It's the last Thursday of every month from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. You can start your morning with hot coffee and good company. They have uplifting fellowship with fellow veterans, followed by grocery shopping for all veterans in need. Wow. Come early, stay connected, and leave with essentials. 507 Center Road, Fort Myers, Florida. And I just got my registration for Sisters by the Sea.
Very nice.
For over 20 years, this has been going on. It's in Naples, Florida. You don't have to live in Florida to come here. It's a conference by women in recovery, for women in recovery, and the women who support us in recovery. A group of 400 of your closest friends. It's June 12th to the 14th. It's at the Naples Hilton. You can Google Sisters by the Sea 2026 and get all the information. I did that today.
Well, very good, very good. And you've heard of PAL, ladies and gentlemen. PAL is the Police Athletic League, and they are putting on a camp for children called Respect for the Law. This goes on from June 11th to the 14th. It's ages 10 through 14. It's 4 days and 3 nights. It's $125. It'll be held at the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School in Fort Myers, Florida. The object of this is police are trying to get in touch with the community on a level starting with children so that they don't grow up thinking that the police are the enemy. So there's all sorts of different groups and things they're going to be doing together, whether it be activities involving athletic stuff or just informative things about the first responders, the fire department, the ambulance people, and the police themselves. So once again, that's June 11th through the 14th, ages 10 through 14, 4 days and 3 nights, and it's $125. And you can contact fortmyerspal.net for more information on that. All right, so that we have that. What else do we got, Joy? We got anything else that I can think of?
No.
All right.
We have a guest.
We do? You
Yeah.
want to introduce her since at one time, or you two are very close, aren't you?
Sometimes we are. We're always close. We just don't see each other enough.
So
How long have we known each other?
Since 2012.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah, my friend Audra, she's just a bright light in my life, and you just never know what's going to happen, but she's always around.
So welcome Audra to the show, everybody. Audra, so we'll get right to the skinny bits of this thing. Where are you from originally?
I was born in Melbourne, Florida, raised a little bit in Orlando and Baltimore.
When did your life start to take a turn for the worse? At what time?
Well, for the drugs and alcohol, it was 1991.
Well, not necessarily for the drugs, Audra. Did you have a happy home life when you were little?
No.
So describe that to us.
Well, I was taken from my mother. She was proved unfit in the court of law, and I was taken from her at the age of 2. And my stepmother, at the age of 6, gave my father an ultimatum, either her or me. I guess I was very aggressive, uncontrollable at the age of 6. I do remember some things when I was 4 years old.
What kind of things do you remember?
Well, my first memory, I was 4 years old, and I chased my little sister around the house with a big butcher knife. I remember that. I remember the part of the house. I remember everything about that. But come to find out, my father used to do that to my stepmom, so I guess I picked it up from him. I'm just assuming. So when he chose my stepmom, of course, I was sent back to the mother who was proven unfit. I mean, when my dad and stepmom got me at 2 years old, it took them 4 months to heal my behind because I was left in diapers for weeks at a time. I had like 4 levels of skin off of my behind from being in raw diapers.
So you went back to the unfit mother.
Yes, in
And
Baltimore City.
At the age of 6 years old.
Yes.
So you can, sorry about that, but you can remember a little bit of this, I'm sure, or maybe a lot of it.
Oh, I remember a lot. There's a lot of times that I don't remember. They were kind of filled in by my brother, who recently died of lung cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I was physically and mentally and emotionally abused by my mother from the time I was 6 until I was 12. And her 6th husband, I was home on a weekend pass from from a psychiatric children's facility. I was home on a weekend pass.
So basically, your mom had put you there because she couldn't handle the situation?
No.
What got you to this children's psychiatric hospital?
I was 8, and I remember just being abused by my real mother and being locked in my room for days at a time. And something in my mind said I needed help, and I didn't know how to do it, so I tried to hurt myself in public. I tried to run in front of a car at 8 years old, so she had no choice but to do something. So I went into Johns Hopkins Hospital, Children's Psychiatric Unit. And from then on, I felt secure and safe there. So when they sent me home, and the abuse started again, I knew exactly what to do to get back to safety.
What was
And
that?
I would act up to the point in public where, because behind closed doors, you don't know what's going on.
Right.
So I acted up in public, and I went from 0 to 60. I didn't care. I just had to I needed somebody to know I needed help. And that my way was acting out because that was what got me away from my mom. So I kind of institutionalized myself.
And how long did that last for?
All the way up into my adult years, into my adult life.
Like what age?
I guess I continued to go into places till in my 40s, really, but that was drug-related, pretty much.
I understand. So the psychological part of this,
Yeah.
from a child's standpoint,
Yeah.
eventually you become an adult.
Yeah, so 18, really.
So when you were 18, you were on your own?
Yeah, pretty much.
How did that work out?
It didn't work out.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so when I was getting ready to turn 18, I was in the Northeast Florida State Hospital in McClenny, Florida. I had really grown attached to some of the people there, and so I would go back. But at 17, I had a doctor come over from the adult unit. She says, "You're not crazy. My specific goal was to get you out of here before you turned 18. I had been there since I was 14 and a half, and every time it was time to go home, I would do something to stay.
So this was your safe spot.
Yeah,
This
it
is where you
was.
felt
Yeah,
okay.
it was.
And so every time that you thought or heard that they were going to send you home,
Yeah,
you got scared and you wanted to stay where you felt at
Yeah.
home and felt safe.
Yeah.
And that was with these people. Joy?
Did they try medications on you
I
at
was
those
on
ages?
I was on so many different. I was on Mellaril, Thorazine, Haldol, lithium, Seroquel, Trazodone,
Good Lord.
you name it.
And
I
so-
was a guinea pig for medications.
Yeah, and so besides acting out to get to a safe place, did you find that your emotions were just like triggered? You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
just,
because even inside, I still had episodes. So I guess it was a learned behavior, I want to say, because when I look back, I was around some real psychotic people, and I didn't have the behaviors they had.
So the staff deemed you ready to go home at the
Yeah.
age of 18. Where did you go when you left there?
I went
Oh,
back
wait.
to my dad's.
Okay, so hold on, Joy. You
well, and so they had you on medication kind of at a young age. When did it feel like the difference between drugs and medicine? Was there a time when you,
No, I always felt like there was something missing. I always felt like I was alone.
yeah,
So the medicine didn't equal you out, and then you started using drugs because you stopped taking the medicine.
No, I started using drugs when I lost my first child. I tried to commit suicide in 1991. I took 600 pills of Sleepinol and Benadryl, over-the-counter drugs. And my son was like 9 months old, 10 months old. And I woke up 5 days later in the hospital, but I did not know for those 5 days I was out of it. They found me talking to a tree in my parking lot, and my nine-month-old walking around in a very busy, my parking lot, the parking lot to where I lived was on a very busy street. So they didn't know. They thought I was on drugs, but little did they know until after I finally came to 5 days later that I had took a bunch of pills because I was so depressed. I didn't think I deserved my child because I had willingly did something that I would never do for love, and it was an abortion. I found out I was pregnant by my first love. He was a Sicilian Italian, and he was my world. And when he left, I didn't have any purpose. I was like I built my world around him instead of my child. Of course, I was still mentally unbalanced due to going from institution to the free world and then getting pregnant. And so I was a little messed up. So when I lost my kid, going to visit him brought up all those bad memories as a child, being a bandit, being left, being back and forth from mom to dad. And I couldn't handle hearing my little boy go, "Mommy, don't leave."
Yeah.
So when I would go visit him,
Where was
Anyway,
he? Where was he?
he was
he put in foster home?
He was in a foster home, and then my sister, who took me to those visits, she's no longer alive. My sister that I chased with a butcher knife at 4 years old, she introduced me to crack cocaine. She said, "Here," when she took me to the visits, and when she brought me home the third time of having to pull over because I was crying so hard that I was throwing up. She said, "I got something that'll help you." And that's my first time ever smoking crack cocaine. It was on a can and some ashes.
So you had no idea that your sister was doing that
No, I had
until that day?
until that day.
All right, so then you start start doing drugs, you start smoking crack.
Yeah, but it was just to take away, it was just a.
Whatever, yes.
Very little, very little.
Okay,
Not-
so, all right, so now tell us what how it progressed from there.
So the progression, it started progressing, like I got back with that same man, and then I lost my kid again, because 3 weeks later after getting him back, because we had a fight, and HRS was called, and they said, why are you still with the same guy? That, and so soon as they took my son, then he left me, because I was wacko by then. I mean, I told the cops they'd had to take him out of my arms. I wasn't losing him again. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't see where I did anything wrong. I was just mentally unstable. That's where I was wrong.
So let's go back to that, Joy. One of the biggest devastations, I always say, that's a famous line of the biggest devastations. For me, it's hurting the people I love and that love me. But in treatment, in trying to help other people, the dual diagnosis world is over the top because there's plenty of detoxes, there's plenty of 28-day programs, and there's plenty of drug and alcohol treatment centers.
And it's hard enough when you don't have mental issues and, past things to work through and hurts. And it's hard enough when you don't have those things, let alone when you're dealing with trauma and maybe not learning good coping skills coming up.
You see how, and audience at home too, you can see how Audra's trauma has started from a very young age, and it's one trauma over another trauma over another trauma. Just when I think I'm okay, something else hits me. And this can cause a downward spiral deeper into depression, clinical depression, all sorts of different mental illness, and substance abuse. So I'm assuming, well, I don't know.
And self-harm, yeah.
So it got real serious in '93 when I was.
Who's we?
Oh,
said we
my crack habit got real serious in '93. So from the end of '92 till '93, so my first love left me, but he would pick me up. We would go in his car, and he gave me the one thing that was love. We would make love in the car, and he would promise me he's coming back, but he has to deal with his father, because his father was one of those connected type of Italians, and he was worried, and that didn't matter to me. I even went after his father with a pair of brass knuckles. I loved this man, and I didn't care about his history or his, So it got to a point where the last time we were together, he said, this is it. I cannot go back to you. My dad was never going to have it. And he just traumatized me by, playing with my emotions. Mm-hmm. So I had planned in October of '92 to kill myself in front of either him or my mother, the two most people that hurt me in my life.
Sort of like I'll show you?
Yeah, well, you'll watch me die. I mean, I can't take the pain anymore. I was in so much pain. Even the crack, I didn't have enough money to keep doing crack. I didn't know how to actually get it until later. But
It's like, I'll show you, I'll hurt me.
and I told everybody, and it was like my 17th attempt, and nobody believed that I was
Yeah.
going to do it because I never told anybody before. They would just find me unconscious from overdose. And then once I hung myself in prison, but
Wait a minute. Wait. You can't just brush over something like that. It's just.
Well, that was later on.
So
Yeah.
was that yours? We're going to get to that, you mean?
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
your bottom? Okay, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
So in so I told my family, I told my mom, I told Sal, which was the Salvatore,
The
which
Italian.
was the Italian. I told him, I says, I'm buying a gun. Well, it just happened to happen that one day I was hitchhiking to go to see him at his job. Now here I have a felony, no restraining, I have a restraining order against me because, I would literally call him 100 times a day. And I would stand on the other parking lot from his job. and just watch him. I was so obsessed
Let
and
me-
in love with him.
I didn't
sorry
go
to
that
that it
far.
was crazy. Yeah.
All right, what would you say to another woman now that you've come full circle? You try to help other women, and you are in a program. You subscribe to a program of recovery.
Yeah.
So, if another woman described this type of behavior to you, what would your comeback be to that?
I would be like, you need help.
Okay, good. That's a good start.
Be-
Yep.
Because the more you push yourself on somebody, it's not love, it's an obsession, it's a drug. And I didn't know that then, but he was a drug for me.
And it's trying to maintain control.
Yeah,
You're trying to
and-
have control of this thing.
Yeah, and,
Filling this hole
was-
that I have inside.
yeah, it was filling a hole, a
And to be
void.
and to be the one saying, this is how it's going to go. I have to have this. This is,
I'm the one who pushed him away with my violence, with my erratic defense mechanism that I learned growing up. And I assumed that if I hit him first, he wouldn't hit me. My father abused both of my mothers for years, and I seen that. And I said I would never be like my stepmom. So I immediately would get violent, thinking that would protect me from being violent towards. So that was my way of thinking. And so I lost him. It was my fault, but I didn't see that. I
Well,
just
did
kept.
you really ever have him? See, that's the thing.
Yeah, I
Was
did.
It, was it,
we
was it,
were getting married and everything, but no, probably not. To be honest,
Good.
because once I introduced myself to crack, I didn't know that then, but that was it. I mean, I couldn't keep anything with.
and so eventually,
Crack
what happened?
addiction.
You end up in prison because of what?
No, I ended up hitchhiking to his job, which he at that time worked at Disney, and the guy that picked me up on I-4 had a gun on the seat, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't know. He goes, oh, these are just for show, and I still got in the car with him, and I wound up doing my first date for something in return, and it was for that 38 snub nose 2-barrel special and 10 bullets. We got a hotel room by Disney. I did what I had to do. He let me off at Disney, and I got on the employee bus. And first I went in the bathroom, I loaded the two barrels, and I locked the gun. And Sal got on the employee bus at the last pickup for the employees, and he didn't believe me until I showed him the gun. And then he went inside, and he was usually the first one out from getting his regular clothes, and he didn't. And I said, oh my God, he is really gonna call. So I knew that I had to do something, or it would be turned around, like I was
Right.
there to kill him. I
Right.
knew, that kind of thing. So I ran inside, and his manager had him behind closed doors. I opened the door, I pulled the gun out, and I said, now watch me die. You've hurt me so bad. And I wasn't gonna hitchhike to Melbourne, where my mother was. So the current pain was from him. So I pulled the gun out, I pulled it to my head, I pulled the trigger, but I forgot it was locked. So I was shaking so bad, the gun dropped to the ground. I picked it up, I went like this, and don't remember pulling the trigger. I just bent over, and it shot me here. I never lost consciousness. I was helicoptered out. 15 days later, I was Baker acted. The next day, they wanted to let me go
yeah.
because I was no longer, I knew then that I was here for a reason. At that time, I thought it was just to suffer
Yeah.
because I was smoking crack with tubes hanging out of my stomach. I still had tubes in my, 2 tubes hanging out.
Drains, yeah.
And I was still smoking crack. That's when I didn't know then, but that's when the real problem started. And then I went to prison a couple times after that. I went
For what?
The first time I went to prison, my mom was already dead. God rest her soul. I have forgiven her since then. But she was dead, and I had stole a check from her purposely to forge her signature, which I didn't forge right. I mean, I had stole a bunch of checks before doctors and lawyers when I used to clean houses, and I forged their name perfect, and I got away with it. But I purposely forged my mom's check because I kept going back for more. more. And I thought that something would change, and it never would. I always wound up leaving hurt and damaged. And I knew that if I took something from her at that time, her current seventh husband would never let me back because he was very, good. He was good for her. And so I left a check at the counter with my ID. So I wound up getting put on probation for trying to pass a forged instrument. Well, I violated probation 4 times, and eventually they sent me to prison. I wound up just doing 6 months because I had done so much time over a period. But that was my first time in prison in 97. My second time was crack-related. I pawned something for somebody in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't think it wasn't his, but I was gullible. It was for drugs, so hey, I did it, and I went to prison for it. And but the first time in prison is when I hung myself. I had my baby in prison, my last child.
Well, we didn't know you were pregnant, so you were
Yeah.
pregnant when you went to prison the
Yeah,
first time.
the first time.
You had a child in prison.
Yes, and I guess the postpartum depression, and then I was in lockdown for some reason. I don't remember why I went to lockdown, but I waited for the lady to do her, every 15 minutes, they do a check, or every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I waited, I tied the door shut. I tied the door with my sheet to the window because it was
So they couldn't open it.
so they couldn't open it, and she happened to forget the last person to check. So when she did come down to check that last person, I had already been hanging, and I guess that's when she found me, and I was blue, and they had to rush me to the hospital. But I think that was my very last attempt, really, because I knew nothing was.
The amazing story that you're telling here is not over. But in lieu of time, we've got to move on from this. But Joy, you have something to say.
Yeah, so when did you know that you had to try to get sober?
Exactly.
Okay, so I got out of prison my last time in 2007. I still stayed on the street in Delray Beach for about a year, ripping and running. And then I met my husband, who I'm married to today. He picked me up as a date in Delray Beach. I've been with him ever since. That was September 21st of 2008. 2008 till 2012, I did move here in 2008, like October of 2008 with him. My bottom, up until 2008, I was known for kicking ass and taking names later on the street. Even the cops would run from me. And that's honest, because when they dealt with me, they had to fight me. But when I moved here,
When you fight a
Crazy
cop,
mean.
you go to prison,
yeah,
don't you?
I've got 4 batteries on a Leo.
Okay, all right, well, okay.
I'm being honest, I have a
Don't
bad
hit me.
record. Oh,
Don't.
I'm not.
No, I'm just kidding.
I just skipped through all that.
Yes.
When I came here, my high did a 360. I was petrified. I thought somebody was trying to kill me, and it was always him or his family, the guy I was with, because I knew they were against crack. My husband let me do it. And if he didn't, I would strong arm him, beat him up, take the money. I was bad. But my high changed. So my bottom was fear.
And the paranoia.
Paranoia. It took me to a place, but it took, from 2008 till 2012? I mean, I would call my poor mom. She was sick. I would call her at 3 o'clock in the morning. If I die, it's my husband and his family. I would tell her. But it wasn't true. It was real to me, but it wasn't. And finally, I was sitting on a bench on Palm Beach Boulevard waiting on a trek. It was pouring down rain. And it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was like, what am I doing? I always said that I accepted crack as my life. But I always said that if I found that person to love me for who I was and to love me like I wanted to be loved, I would quit. That's when I knew there was a problem, because this man stuck by me after all I did to him, after all the thousands and thousands of dollars I stole from him, after all of the times made us homeless because I stole the money for the rent, and the trucks that I demolished of his, and the things that I did to him. He still stuck by me. And I sat on that bench and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And it said, you know what? Something said to me, it starts from here. Something in me needs to change. And I knew that there was a program, because I didn't try program once, but the only way to get my last child back through DCF in 97 was to go through a program. I went through the program to get my kid back, but I lasted 6 months.
Yeah, so you
it wasn't
heard
for
some
me.
things.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. So I heard some things. So I was here, and I looked into some programs, and I did. I got clean in 2012. Now, did I stay clean? No, because I was living a double life. You cannot sell drugs and work the program. I was selling opiates.
I'm not doing them, I'm just selling them, I need the money.
It wasn't my drug of choice, so I thought I could do it.
We call that being clean and living dirty.
Yeah. So 2 years later, 2 months and 2 weeks, I relapsed. And I stayed out there 6 months. And that fear again brought me back. But I really thought I would be out there for another 15 years.
And so what's your sobriety date now?
To be honest, from crack cocaine.
From all mind-altering substances, alcohol, everything.
Okay, well, it's really only July 1st of 2020, but I don't
Yeah.
Now, see,
I don't claim that, because I was a crackhead. So I haven't smoked crack in almost 11 years.
but we subscribe, you and I,
Yeah, I
to
know.
a fellowship that says all mind-altering
Right,
substances.
so that's why I took 5 years off of my clean time. In 2022, I wanted to go the big book way. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly, that one word, thoroughly, followed our path.
We are in lieu of time here, and I don't mean to, because if your story has been fantastic and you've done a wonderful, wonderful job articulating what happened, what it was like and what happened. Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, two more things. For the first 8 years of being clean off crack, I had probably 30 or 40 jobs.
Yeah.
The last 2.5 years, I've stayed at the same job, and I just got promoted last week.
See, that's, all right, there's another reason why we talk like we do, or we do. Now, what I want to do in closing, because we're going to have to go to commercial break,
fine.
is that you had struggled from the time of an early or little tiny child
Yes.
all your life with this mental illness.
Yes.
How do you share with the audience how you stay stable today?
Well, for years, I was on medication, and in 2020, I went cold turkey. I was like, I'm no longer taking your people's medication. Well, I didn't realize why I was so angry. After being clean 5 years off of crack, I was still a very angry, aggressive person. Plus, I was going through menopause in 2020. So in 2024, 4 years later, after acting like I was on crack, I mean, really, literally, I was a mess. I said, man, I can't live this way. I mean, I didn't get clean to feel this way. Something's wrong. And then I went from being really angry and mean to so depressed, where this job that I love so much, that I finally got stable at, it took everything in me just to get out of bed to go to it. And I made an appointment with my primary care. I wasn't seeing no more shrinks. As far as I'm concerned, they have to be in my shoes, literally, to know what I'm going through. So she suggested me to take Zoloft. Well, first she said Prozac. I said, no, Prozac, I've been on it before. It ended me up back in the hospital because it had my manic at a number 10. So she gave me Zoloft in the end of 2024.
And that's
and
worked?
I have been on it. And I tell you,
So,
Wow.
it takes a lot to get me angry. It takes a lot to get me to cuss and raise my voice. It's like, I get excited, but I don't get mad at you. It's just, it's
the
amazing.
difference that I've noticed in you, as Joy, you might be able to comment on this as well, is that because you were that angry person, and you were that person that always got defensive and thought
Yes.
that we were attacking you directly,
Yes.
when all we were doing is loving you right where you were at. And what a tremendous change you have. And if something works, keep doing it.
Yep.
So if you find, I'm not promoting medically assisted treatment as it pertains to drugs and alcohol, but mental illness is real.
Yes, it is.
And if you suffer like Audra had explained she suffered, and you find something that levels you out and can turn go from a 1 to a 10 in a personality change, then I would encourage you to do it. So let's give Audra a big round of applause. She did a wonderful job.
You guys
We are
having me.
right here. We're going to go to commercial break right now, and when we come back, we're going to have our friend Todd come up and give us a little bit of a schooling on. Well, I'm going to save it till after commercial. You're listening to Rated R for Recovery and RatedRforRecovery.com. We'll be right back.
Struggling with life's challenges? At The Next Step, we're here to guide you to a brighter tomorrow. Whether it's counseling, recovery support, or simply finding hope, we provide the tools and community to help you rise. Take the first step toward healing today. Visit thenextstep.org and discover how we can support your journey to wellness. Remember, every step forward is a step toward a better you. The Next Step, your path to hope, starts here. With offices in Fort Myers and Naples, 844-639-8371.
Have you been charged with a crime? You could face serious penalties for conviction, and it is vitally important that you have skilled legal assistance on your side during this time. Call Brian L. Edwards, Esquire, attorney at law today. 888-512-6254. Results matter. With a track record of success, our methods are tried and true. Mistakes happen, but we can help. Brian L. Edwards, Esquire, attorney at law. Visit FortMyersCriminalLawFirm.com or call 888-512-6254.
Feeling trapped in addiction? White Sands Treatment Center offers more than just detox. We build lasting recovery. With 3 inpatient and 18 outpatient locations located throughout Florida, we offer services from medically supervised detox to inpatient, outpatient, and sober living programs. Our services include individual therapy, family therapy, life skills, and small group sizes. Our amenities include yoga and massage therapy with recreational activities, including gyms, pools, and spa. Newsweek has named White Sands one of America's best addiction treatment centers 5 years in a row. You deserve quality care in a safe, supportive setting. Call White Sands Helpline at 833-423-2338 or visit whitesandstreatment.com and start your recovery journey today.
Welcome to Holy Spark. At Holy Spark, we bring power and reliability to every job. From panel upgrades and EV chargers to lighting installations and troubleshooting, we're dedicated to keeping your home and business running safely and efficiently. With expert craftsmanship, honest service, and free estimates, you can count on us to deliver electrical solutions that shine bright. Contact us today at holy-spark.net or call 239-789-6832.
Not everyone has the luck of the Irish. If a friend or family member is in trouble, call Shamrock Bell Bonds. Put our number into your phone, 239-332-2245, 239-332-2245, or go online at gobailmeout.com. Shamrock Bell Bonds provides fast, reliable service. Shamrock Bell Bonds, 1528 Broadway, downtown Fort Myers. Look for the Shamrock, and maybe luck will be on your side.
Hello, I'm Michael Manzi, owner of JCI Solutions, 239-672-2673. When starting this company 3 years ago, I had no clue that we would grow to what we have become. There is one thing I can say that we have done from the beginning is take pride in our work, making sure every customer we do work for is satisfied from beginning to end. Offering residential painting all the way to commercial painting with jobs done in a timely manner, with highly skilled professionals giving you top-of-the-line work. To help you create your new look, call JCI Solutions, 239-672-2673.
Struggling with addiction? You're not alone. At Phoenix House Project, we believe in second chances and brighter tomorrows. Our proven programs offer support, hope, and tools to rebuild your life. With expert care and a community that understands, transformation starts here. It's time to rise, reclaim your life, and become the best version of yourself. Visit phoenixhouseproject.squarespace.com today. or call 239-244-7876. The journey to recovery begins with sober living. Phoenix House Project, where hope takes flight.
Kimmy's Recovery Zone, where hope meets action. We're here to guide the journey from treatment to thriving, healthy living. With peer support, public education, and vital resources like housing, employment, and Narcan training, we're building stronger communities. Ready to make an impact? Together, we're creating a network of recovery, resilience, and renewed lives. Kimmy's Recovery Zone, your hub for healing and hope. Visit us online today at kimmysrecoveryzone.org. It's not how we survive, it's how we thrive.
When children have to play inside so they don't disappear.
Welcome back to Rated R for Recovery.
Calling all angels.
Welcome back, everybody, to Rated R for Recovery and ratedrforrecovery.com. That's our website. But make sure that if you're interested in us, you can always text questions and comments to 239-980-8080, broadcasting from the KRZ studios in South Fort Myers. Al is on sabbatical tonight, so we're going to have a special guest sit in with us right now. Joy, let's welcome Todd to the show.
Welcome, Todd.
Now, Todd and I have known each other for, I don't know, years, and Joy have known Todd a little bit through the years as well. And what Todd is a champion as far as doing, I'll say it this way, doing God's work. Todd is what we call in the trenches, and if somebody requires help, all they have to do is ask him, and then Todd will determine whether or not I have to say this the right way. So some people will ask us for help and just be asking for help using lift service. And then we say, okay, so why don't you do X, Y, Z? And then they don't do X, Y, Z. And we know that maybe someday they will ask and be serious about it. But Todd, I'm going to let you explain. So you and I belong to a fellowship that works 12 steps of recovery as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Is that correct?
That is correct, John.
Okay, so when you meet somebody that asks you for help, describe to the listener at home what your next step is.
I think there's a lot of variables to that these days. Well, I guess I'll just use the example of somebody that's attended a 12-step meeting, or somebody that I've reached out to, an H&I that attends a 12-step meeting and then reaches out.
H&I, ladies and gentlemen, stands for Hospitals and Institutions. It's a subcommittee of Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous that takes meetings into hospitals and institutions. Go ahead.
Because, like I said, it is very different because I don't live that anonymously. So in most of my life, my hobbies and at work and stuff like that, people know that I'm sober. So I do get people that have never been to a 12-step meeting struggling with things that then ask me for help. So I just want to be clear that I'm gonna go through like somebody that is aware of 12-step meetings when they come up and they ask me for help. I like to have a conversation with them. I'd like to get to know him a little bit. I'd like to see if I can help him or if I should help him. Because if he's struggling at home and he just wants to get his relationship back, anybody that knows me, that I'm not the one to come to for relationship advice. So if he honestly believes that his problem is alcoholism and drug addiction, after having this conversation, I'm willing to bring the conversation straight into the steps.
What does that look like?
Well, step one, first meeting with an alcoholic or an addict after meeting them at a meeting. It could be very loose and or they could be very desperate. It usually depends on how hopeless they feel. I will spend a good 15, 20 minutes trying to get them to first understand that I suffer from the same thing that they might suffer from. And if they're not hopeless enough, I'll try and compound that.
I lost my train of thought, but what about people who have tried and tried and tried and then they come to you? Does that sometimes that brings a level of hopelessness that can be seen sometimes.
Absolutely, and that is actually my experience exactly. I struggled for a very long time trying to get sober in 12-step meetings, not working the 12 steps. So really, that's the first thing I have to find out, right? Like if this person's been coming to meetings for a long time, they've had bouts of sobriety, but they just can't stay sober. The first thing I need to find out, well, were you going to 12-step meetings and not working the 12 steps like I did for 10 years and was not able to stay sober? I think it's a very, because if they were working or did work the 12 steps, I do have another process of talking to them and trying to figure out where they could have fallen short.
Do you find that the people that come to you and say, oh, I've worked the steps, have you had that experience, and what do you say when they use that terminology?
To me, I love speaking in metaphors, and that's like saying I did the gym, if that makes sense. Like, why aren't you in shape? I don't understand why I'm not in shape. I did the gym, you know, and it's a really good metaphor because a lot of people belong to a gym and don't attend the gym. And
that's my favorite question with people who relapse is, you know, so you were sober such and such a time, and then what happened? It's always, that's always my first question.
Do you find the people that have had experience with 12-step recovery kind of all have the same type of answer, where I stopped going to meetings, or I stopped working the program as it's outlined in the book, or I've stopped X, Y, Z?
I reduce it to as simple as I can. And one of the things I like to reduce it to is I do believe that anybody struggling that actually has real alcoholism and real addiction, it's either a step 1 or a step 2 problem, right? Because even if they're not working any of the other steps, the reason why I believe people don't is that they do not think they have this illness, they do not believe that they're dying from a progressive terminal illness, or they do believe that they have this thing, but they do not believe in our solution. They do not believe that a power greater than themselves is an answer. And a lot of times when you can paint somebody in a corner and ask them which one it is, they have to give an honest answer.
Yeah, and then there's the thing about what we call two-stepping, is where, you know, you may get through the first step and then you start helping others, 1 and 12, and you leave out the ones in the middle.
Or 1 and 9.
And a lot of people that I work with, they go out sometime between 4 and 5, that and then 9, and they're just two places where.
For the people listening at home, we're running off numbers here for you. Let's go back to the first step. Todd, what is step 1?
Step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over all mood and mind altering substances.
When you say mood,
our lives have become unmanageable.
Yes, I'm sorry, I cut you off. What do you mean mood altering?
To be honest, I haven't read the 12 steps in Cocaine Anonymous probably since I came to Cocaine Anonymous, because we work out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I almost fumbled that question.
So that's okay, because I don't think it says mood altering, because caffeine's mood altering.
Mind altering.
It's mind altering.
Mind altering.
Yes, and nicotine and caffeine are mood altering, but nobody drinks a pot of coffee and goes out and kills a family of 5 on the road, or smokes a pack of cigarettes and kills a clerk for $50 on a register. That's why the difference between the mood and mind altering that I was taught. So go ahead. So the first step, that we admit that we're powerless. How do you determine, or what kind of questions do you ask your potential student?
Well, there's a lot less to this first step than we think. I honestly believe that if we haven't come in believing what I'm about to ask, the questions that I'm about to ask this person, if they can't answer them now, they're not going to be able to answer them tomorrow. I could have them read the doctor's opinion for the rest of their life, and they're not going to be able to answer them because they read that.
Okay, so for those of you at home, the doctor's opinion is right at the beginning of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a gentleman named Dr. Silkworth who gave his opinion, or his experience, of dealing with addicts and alcoholics, because he was actually the chief physician at a prominent medical facility, and was realizing that he really couldn't help these people, that they suffered from a disease
hopeless state of mind and body.
Thank you very much. That's where I was going with that. And I was going with something else, but and then there's that school of thought, what Todd said, because it made me chuckle, because I've heard people say, read the doctor's opinion every day for 30 days, and if you miss a day, start over again. And I went, what the heck is that? Do you feel the same way?
I definitely feel like it's a misunderstanding of step one. That I think that if I'm not sitting down with a guy with a sense of urgency, that I myself don't understand step one, because the questions that I'm going to ask them are, can you control how much you take once
No.
you put it into your body?
No.
Do you know how much you're going to take or when you're going to stop?
No.
And the other question is, when you have been stopped, can you stay stopped?
No, I can't.
And then it's going to follow a series of times and stories where I share one about me, about having been stopped. I let them know that the problem definitely centers in the mind, right? And I'm going to go through a couple of stories when I've been able to put a couple of months or years of sobriety together, and even though I had a consequence in front of me, I still was not able to stay sober. That I could not stay sober on my free will, even if it was 3 days or 3 months from then. And I asked them for a few stories of their own. And the understanding that we're getting is that we have zero power over whether we pick up again, right? So we lose control in the first part, and we lose the power of choice in the second part. And if we lose the power of choice, and if I honestly believe that that's what that big book says, it means we better get to work. Because I don't know how big your window is, because I have an actual understanding of what powerless over alcohol and drugs means. So if I sit down with a guy and I tell him to read the doctor's opinion for 30 days before I'll work with him, or before I'll bring him to another step, I shouldn't be sponsoring him anyway.
Yeah, and it's not a one-size-all solution. And like you said, you try to get to know the person a little bit, and we give them our experience, strength, and hope, and what has worked for us. And I tend to do better with people who have been in and out, in and out, in and out. And my work with that is, at the end of the 12 steps, there are 3 proposals, A, B, and C. I memorized them, but I can't think of them.
A, I'm powerless. Go ahead. Okay, over alcohol, and my life has become unmanageable.
B, probably no, the A, B, and C. And B, probably
no human power can relieve me. Is that what you're talking about?
Probably no human power could relieve
C?
our alcoholism, and C, that
Obviously, I
God
don't think
could
so.
and would if
God
you would
could
sought.
would if we were
And
sought,
we
yeah.
talk about those 3 things, and if they can agree with those 3 things, the very next sentence is, next we,
Being convinced is the next sentence in that right there. Being convinced. So then I say, are you
then we
convinced?
start on a course of vigorous action, which means, you make up your mind to follow the rest of the steps, and you get started on step 4.
Please continue with where you.
Yeah.
So, and I think at that point, if they can answer yes to both of those questions, that my next job as a sponsor, and I do believe that I have to be responsible and hold myself accountable to give a clear message from this book that I've got this great life from, and a relationship with a power greater than myself, is I have to be sure that they're convinced that they cannot be the solution to their own problem anymore.
Yes.
If they think that they could solve this thing another way, they are never going to do the things that I'm going to ask them to do in the remaining steps. They're just not.
No, and they're always going to go try and do, I can do this myself, I got this. And probably the 3 most dangerous words in recovery are, I've got this, like on my own.
And if they do think they have another way,
God bless their point of the Lord.
I will not work with them. If they think that they have another way to do this, I don't know how to keep them sober.
Right, I don't know.
I didn't have another way. I can't show them that way. I don't have any experience with that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if they think that they have another way, I can't work with them. And I think that if I continue to work with them and I drag them from the back of my car, that's what I feel like I'm doing at that point.
Sure.
Right.
Because I can't really jump into the steps with them. I really can't transmit what I have. So I'm just going to see what happens. If I do that, I think that I'm diminishing a later opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I'm clear with what we have to offer here and they don't want it, that if they do struggle in the future, they might say, maybe that guy was right. And that has happened more than once.
So let me give you an example of what might come up. Let's say there's a part in this book, ladies and gentlemen, after we've written down what we call a fearless and searching moral inventory of ourselves. Then we talk about it with our sponsors or with the gentleman or lady that's working us through the steps. And after we've done that, it gives us clear-cut instructions what to do. I'm talking about after step 5, to go home, sit quietly, blah, blah, blah. So they've done the inventory. You've heard their inventory, and you've given them those instructions on what to do and read it with them in the book. And then you see them the next day and they say, how did that work out? And they say, well, no, I went bowling instead. Is that what you mean about not following the direction?
It's tough for me to tell you guys exactly how I would handle that. But I would no longer sponsor them because here's a belief that I hold, that these steps were meant to be worked for effect. The effect that we're trying to produce is a spiritual awakening as a result of them. If not worked in a quick fashion, the effect is dampened. Just like if you slow down the speed on a roller coaster, right? Everybody likes roller coasters?
No, I do.
Because they're fast, right? The effect produced. We like the effect produced by the speed of it. If you got on that roller coaster and I told you it was going to take you a year to get to the other side, you'd want to get off. So I believe that the only time, so 4 is the inventory, 5 is sharing the inventory. The hour afterward is 6 and 7. And the thing about 6 and 7, they have these 2 words in it. One is entirely ready, and the other one is humbly. And I believe that the only time we are entirely ready and humble at the same time,
right
after we did 4, 5, sat for an hour with God, the effect is produced. I cannot duplicate it. If you do a 5th step with me and you go bowling, I don't have anything else for you.
Okay. Thank you for so far for that. In lieu of time, again, what else would you like to say about the process?
I would like to talk a little bit more about how the process is supposed to be worked. It uses words like launch, and the idea that we can drag this thing out. I think as sponsors we need to understand that we like to say when somebody goes out that we stayed sober and it's a success, and I'd like to get away from that a little bit, right? Because the truth is, when we're not responsibly doing this stuff, we are taking a risk with other people's lives and then going back to our friends and saying, we're still sober, so it's okay. And I do not think that that's okay. And I never thought that that was the way that that was supposed to be intended. Just hold on one second, because somebody told me that after I sponsored my first person, right? Sponsored my first person. They were sober 7 months. I sat down with them one day. They relapsed the next day. And I went to my home group, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not good at this. And they said, well, you're still sober, right? So I sat down for the meeting, and that ate my gut for an hour, because my sobriety wasn't in question when I sat down with him. And I wondered why the person that I went to didn't sit me down and ask me or teach me how to be better. And that's why, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this stuff, because I don't ever want to say that to somebody and that be the end of the sentence.
No, it's always good to look into, what happened and to go over that with someone with a lot of experience that can lead us. But there is that thing where, especially if we haven't been around a long time, where we feel some sort of responsibility that the other person didn't stay sober. And that can really do a number on a person too. And in order to stay humble and to know that it's not about me, it's about them, that yes, I stayed sober. I tried to help someone and I stayed sober through that process. So that reinforces for me to continue to do the process and to not just give up because, I tried with so-and-so and that didn't work. So it's not, I think the wording was, well, you stayed sober, so it's okay. It's not okay, but that's what we do. We stay sober and we try to help others. And I don't have any control over what the other person is going to do or not do with my information.
Todd?
That is why I became adequate with this book, and I go to 2 big book studies a week, and I talk to people that know what they're talking about, that have a lot more time with me, and I'm able to rest my head on my pillow knowing that I carried the hand of this book to them.
Yes.
Because if I'm having them read the doctor's opinion, I'm not running through the steps, and I'm not moving quickly, and they pick back up, yeah, I am responsible for that. I 100% am responsible for that. I started working with somebody without an understanding of step 1. I was trying to transmit something that I don't even have. I'm just sober for whatever reason. I don't actually have a working knowledge of the 12 steps out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous that I claim to have. So I do take that very serious, and I don't get down when somebody relapses, because I made it a point that if this book says that we've been given the power to help save lives, and I take that very serious, and that's my purpose today. I know that Todd on his own can't save anyone, but I know that armed with my higher power and the directions in this book, no matter what happens, I can lay my head down at night, and I can wake up, and I can just try and do better. I think the inventory is always mine.
This book was written in 1935, published in 1939, and is alive today, just as much today as it was alive then. Give Todd a nice round of applause. I'm sure we, you know.
There's so much more to talk about.
I know.
There is, but we're out of time.
And I could talk about 12-step recovery all night.
I know you can. I actually.
So let's do it again.
And we'll do this again. Would you like to come back sometime?
I accept.
All
Okay,
right.
good. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're just about out of time. We don't have a musical guest tonight, and
They wouldn't let me sing again.
well, you could have sung, but we didn't address that before the show. So, do you want to sing? Do you want to go to another commercial break and come back and sing?
No, we had this the last time where I got the hook.
Yeah. So, but you can sing anytime you want. I can open this book and I can pencil you in any Tuesday you like. So you just know that.
Okay, thanks.
You're a preferred customer and a preferred singer.
The next time I come back, she has to sing.
Well,
All right.
There you go. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, join us next week for another episode of Rated R for Recovery, in which we will have a musical guest. Thank you very much. Like us on YouTube, like us on the Facebook, and like and subscribe on the YouTube. Good night, everybody.